Feeling our oats. Hello.
Hi,
Welcome to True Crime.
Tea and
Tangents.
woohoo!
I am your host, Bonnie Watkins.
I am also your host, Duca, and I'm super excited to introduce to you our guest host, Cadence. She is amazing. She's listened to some of our episodes and she's like, well, could I join you? Because this is kind of cool. And I'm like, you let me
Wait,
check with
she's
Bonnie.
only listened to some. I thought she had listened to all. I thought she was like a
Well,
devoted
I've listened to
listener.
most. Like, there's probably
Still
I
not
have
all.
two left. Okay.
Okay. All right. That's
Good job,
fair.
good job. Well, I only meant some because we record ahead, right? And so that was
That's
like thinking all of it. She
Mhm.
can't listen to all of it because we have some stashed away.
That is true. 4 summers like this one, by the way. I think it's been like 3 weeks since we've recorded.
It's been an adventure. We've been on adventures, both of us, all of us. So, yeah.
Okay, Cadence, why we're so excited to have you as our guest host. Why did
So,
you want to come on?
Why?
yeah.
Well, I always listen to podcasts, like whether I'm in class, honestly, or whatever. And I kind of want to become like a police officer and go into law enforcement. So
Nice.
it kind of helps me kind of prepare, or I kind of like listening to stuff like this. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, I clearly we
It's
do
not
too.
weird, but
Because we're here, and anybody who listens, well, they either love us or they also like listening to things like
I
this.
also support my girl Duca. So, and Bonnie.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Juka, what are you drinking?
Well, disregard the dog in the background. I am drinking. I got a little bit of a tummy ache and I'm feeling a little achy, which is weird. Anyway, so I'm drinking turmeric and ginger.
Is that the one that we got?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And with a little bit of meadow sweet, just to like make everything better.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking. How about you, Mom?
And- oh, I am drinking. I tried an experiment today. So
Ooh.
I'm drinking one of the raspberry teas that I had when I was like pregnant, like near the end of pregnancy, when I was like, let's get this baby out. But it's really hot. We've been going through a hot spell and it's been like the high 90s and I'm dying. So I was like, well, I'll do like an iced version of it. And so I made it cold, but that was not the right decision.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That is, I'm so
Like
sorry.
what I have learned is that raspberry tea should be a warm tea.
Beverage. Okay.
So when you see me not really drink from it, it's because I don't actually like it cold.
Did you happen to make yourself any snow juice?
Yeah, I have some right here is my backup
Yeah.
for when
Got
I get thirsty from talking.
water. It's fancy.
Okay.
That's what we called it growing up because water was like all we drank, and we
Mhm.
wanted to sometimes have juice, and so we called it snow juice.
Yep.
You know what? I like the creativity. I would have thought of that.
Made us feel better as our little childs.
Yep. We just felt better about ourselves. Anyway, Cadence, how about you?
Okay. First of all, I have to show off this cup.
Because aren't we in
It's
the-
adorable.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Wait, last year.
adorable.
Last year
Oh,
was
that is so cute. Did you make it?
No,
you can't say brands here.
okay. Isabel in her workplace got this. It's
I
very
like it.
Yeah.
But my drink is a caramel
Apple.
apple dream. And I want something sweet. So I don't
Oh,
feel
that's fair.
It's gonna be so good.
That's fair. A few weeks ago, Juka had like a birthday cake,
I did.
something or other.
Birthday cake frappe
Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
without
it looks delicious. I was pretty sad that I didn't have one.
it's because I had passed a cute little, place on my way to podcasting and I'm like, ooh, what sounds great?
Yeah, that did sound great.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
fine. Someday this summer when we're together, because you're helping me move, which I
Yep.
have roped you into with or without your agreement,
I love it. I love
we
it.
will get delicious frappes
Yeah.
from a place that will not be named unless they're sponsored, but everybody will be able to figure out who it because it's a frappe.
Well, anybody who knows Isabel is going to 100% be like, oh, she got that from fill in the blank because that's where she works, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. We like to keep the air of mystery, but only for some people.
Yep. I actually wasn't. I'm like, I'm not going to say my family's name. I'm just going to give them a capital letter, but I've already blown that. So,
Yeah. But you also go back and forth on that, whether you
I
have a
do.
last name, whether your kids have names, whether your
I know.
husband has a name.
I like to be spontaneous and confusing. Am I getting there? Is it working?
Yeah, I think it's working.
Thank you.
I'm confused.
Okay.
I am pretty hardcore about not giving my kids names, but they are all under the age of 18, and your kids are not.
Well, one is, but only
Well, for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's pretty excited about it, as am I, because then I'm like, okay,
We can cut this part out just
over.
just a second. Just a second. I love you so much. Have a good day at work.
Okay. All right. So Cadence is currently having a working lunch. She brought a little snack with her. So disregard any clinking you hear in the background.
Yeah.
And also, my children are having a day, so also disregard any cries of mommy in a pitiful voice you hear in the background.
That's very good.
Because
They are
very
being
well loved.
well taken care of by their grandmother. Very well loved. They just sometimes want me all the time, every minute of every single day.
Yes. Well, you're super desirable.
That's a
Thank you.
compliment. If your kids like want you desperately, I think that's good.
I try to remember that, that like in 5, 10, 15 years, they'll want nothing to do with me and cherish these moments, but sometimes the moments are hard to cherish.
I hear you. I think a lot of people that resonates with them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, the tea is brewed.
And the true crime is cued.
Let's do it.
So today, I'm actually really excited that Candy is going to be here for this one because I think this one's a really good, interesting, fascinating one. And I think you're going to give me some good reactions. No pressure at all, but I'm just excited you're here.
Oh, okay. I got this, guys.
Yep. We're good.
So, I mean, our last guest, I think, might have fallen asleep. So the bar is.
Who was the
Shush.
Okay.
I don't want to throw it under the bus, Mom. But when Candy was like, can I be a guest? And I'm like, that sounds cool. Let me run it by my partner. And my partner was kind of like, well, our last guest, I don't know. And I'm like, no, this is different.
I'm awake.
And yeah, to be fair, she had a really hard weekend, car breaking down, long drives, things like that. But
Yeah.
well, and our couch is where we're currently sitting, and it's very comfortable.
very comfy. Very, very
It's
comfy.
hard. Yeah. And the time of day we record is the perfect quiet lull. So
Yeah, it's right after you've eaten, right? And it's that time for that crash. But this is why you're doing a working lunch, you're going to eat during and crash after. And I
That's
appreciate
actually why I did that. So I can something is awake, so.
Yep. That's why we drink things. I mean, I'm talking most of the time, so it makes it easy.
well,
But you can drink things.
I also hope the story is good enough where you're want to stay active participant in the story.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine if people want to use this as a sleep podcast. I wouldn't take offense at that.
No.
Listeners are listening.
Exactly. Like anybody who wants to listen to us for pretty much any reason, I'm not going to take offense at that. So
I concur.
Anyway, today's story is the story of Kay Mortensen.
Ooh.
My sources for this episode include Dateline. They did a whole series episode thing about this one that's really good. Crimeline.com, DeseretNews.com, CBSNews.com, and KSL.com. And I bet you can guess where this story takes place. What state?
I do now. Utah.
It sure does. Payson, actually.
Ooh.
I know, right near Payson. So I can tell people right now that Payson is where I live because we're moving by the time this episode will air and we won't be in Payson anymore. So for anybody who's like, ooh, where do they live? Because obviously they knew I lived in Utah from previous episodes. I live in Payson, but not when you hear this. I will no longer live in Payson. We just closed.
Everybody already knows where I live because of our Happy Face Killer podcast. So.
Well, general section.
Generally speaking.
But yeah, we just had an offer on our house accepted today. So
woohoo!
So exciting. Anyway, Kay Mortensen was born in Ephraim, Utah on July 6th, 1939. So he was born, a while ago.
Oh, I'm glad you said he because I was automatically thinking she.
Yes, I think you would because your middle name is Kay, obviously, but
giving the goods away.
You have said that on this podcast as well. I'm not saying anything you haven't said.
I can't keep track of all the things I say.
Sometimes you're Duca, sometimes you're Duca K. You just.
Yeah, okay.
It happens. Anyway, He went to college. He went to Snow College and then Utah State and then University of Utah. He got a PhD in metallurgy, which
Wow.
is cool and not common. And then he became a professor of mechanical engineering at BYU, which is in Provo, Utah, Brigham Young University. And he taught there for 37 years. He taught manufacturing design, engineering technology, mechanical engineering. He taught there for 37 years. He was released, and then he went and served a mission he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he served a mission there at Cove Fort, Utah. And then, like 3 weeks after he got back from doing that, he was murdered.
What?
Like in the prime of his retirement, about to just like enjoy life, murdered.
That seems unnecessary.
Yeah. So Kay was like a survivalist, right? He lived in a slightly more rural part of Utah. He had a bunker, he had food storage, he had guns, like guns on guns. He was pretty convinced there was a nuclear war coming, and he was like, I am ready. I am gonna survive it. I am here for it. His wife, it was his second wife. They had gotten married later on, like after their kids were kind of grown, and she was like, yeah, like I knew this when I married him. You just kind of gotta support that. It was a passion of his, and I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, he's a survivalist. So we are in 2009.
That's where we are when he's murdered?
Yes, November 16th, 2009. It's about 7 p.m. And Kay's daughter-in-law, whose name is Pam Mortensen, she called 911 to report that she and her husband, Roger, who's Kay's son, had arrived at Kay's home for a visit with him and had been almost as soon as they got there, they were tied up by two young men that they described to the police as clean-cut white males.
What?
Yes. And they had some conversation with the men. After the men left, they were able to free themselves. This is all the report they're giving to the police, right?
Right.
They were able to free themselves. Pam calls 911. Roger goes upstairs to find that Kay has been murdered.
Oh my goodness.
And a subsequent search of the home has revealed that 24 to 32 guns, somewhere in that range, have been stolen.
She's speechless.
I have that effect on people. So from the very beginning of the situation, Pam and Roger's stories just felt a little bit off to the police. Like, why would these two men, like, they tie them up as soon as they get there? They've killed somebody upstairs, ostensibly, and they just like leave them alive as witnesses, right? Like, these people that can describe them and what they look like, they have no problem killing, right? They've killed Kay Mortensen, so why are they leaving these people alive? And they didn't kill him like super kindly either. They sliced his throat, like clean open.
Personal.
Up close.
Very personal, right? Very
All those
personal
guns
killing.
around, and they just slit his throat, huh?
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of ironic that he had so many guns and got murdered. Like,
Yeah.
house.
Well, I think that he wasn't thinking a personal attack on him. He was thinking like overall, like world has fallen to pieces, and now he needs to have these items to protect himself and his family.
Or it was something he knew and he didn't need to.
Oh,
I was gonna say to Candy's point, right? Like you're not suspecting it coming, maybe, and so you're like not on your guard. You don't have a gun trained on him, and then boom, throat sliced.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now.
okay.
So the police looked into their story and they were like, hey, why did these people let you go? And Pam told the police that the killers had agreed to let them go because Pam and Roger promised them that they would tell the police that it was committed by 3 black men rather than 2 white men, and that they were gonna, throw them off the scent. And so, according to Pam, that was enough for these guys to let them go and for them to free themselves. And then the police were like, well, you said that you were tied up, but then you were able to free yourselves like by yourself. Like, why couldn't you free yourselves while the men were there? And then the only details they gave, like they'd seen these people, and the only physical descriptor they could give to the police was that they were clean-cut white men. Like, no age ranges, no hair color, no defining features, like just a very vague description.
Well, they could have been describing anybody at any church, like generally speaking.
Or anybody in Utah, honestly.
Yeah, that's
Anybody at the Smiths.
It's like a super, and they're like, hey, like you saw these people, and they're like, yeah, we saw them, and they're like, nothing, you can't give us anything. And they're
Eye
like, well,
hair color, freckles, no brows.
age range, right? Like young, old, medium. So Roger, Roger's Kay's son was from his first marriage, and he and Kay were really close. They only lived about a mile apart from each other. And when Roger was younger, he had he'd suffered a brain injury. And so he was on disability and he didn't work. And so he spent a lot of time with his dad, especially since his dad had retired. Kay was worth millions, right? He had worked his whole life, he had invested, he was very frugal, but he was worth millions and had set up a trust for after he passed to help take care of Roger because, he had this brain injury and couldn't work, and his other kids would all kind of receive like care from the trust. And so, the police were like, you guys are acting weird. Pam and Roger, your story seems weird. There's a trust that is set up with millions in it for the kids, Roger included. Maybe he got tired of waiting for it. He wanted it now. The police were like, it just feels wrong. And Pam and Roger both acted just oddly after the situation. Like there's no right way to act after, you've been allegedly tied up and found out that a friend or a father has been murdered. But friends and family members and acquaintances all stated that they seemed cold-blooded about it, detached and unemotional about the entire situation.
Well, and that being said, I do feel like based on their like what they said happened, like this random act of violence by these two people versus as a family member killing another family member for money, like my bet would be on the family member killing another family member for money. I feel like that
Because it's
happens a lot more.
impulsive, right? Like random violence doesn't usually happen versus like money
Mm-hmm.
and family members, even if it's like a fight, right? Like family members getting into a fight and it wasn't a gunshot, so you couldn't say there's just a gun lying there, but like something happens. And it was just, behavior in and of itself, please try not to, use that as an indicator of guilt or innocence. But along with everything else, the police were like, man, this just feels odd. So they looked a little bit into Roger's past and they found out that he had a history of threatening violence.
Oh,
He had years earlier drawn a gun on a Boy Scout camp driver, and been charged. He actually wasn't allowed to have weapons because of his conviction of that incident. So it just started to really like not look great for Roger and Pam, right? It's adding up to be super, super suspicious,
mm-hmm.
sus, as the kids would say.
Is that what the kids would say?
I suppose so.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for throwing me that bone. So the police so Roger and Pam both agreed to submit to polygraph tests, and then they both failed.
Oh,
Now, polygraph tests are not admissible in court for several reasons, but they're often accurate. They're often inaccurate, but the police were like, look, you failed. You're throwing this like against everything else. And they're like, you guys definitely killed him. So after they failed the polygraph tests, Roger and Pam hired an attorney. And once they did that, Roger's family was like, that's it, you're guilty, you did it. So
oh,
like their family had been like, no, like we believe you, we believe you. But then once they failed the polygraph and hired an attorney, they were like, well, why would you hire an attorney if you're innocent? Which is a stupid question to ask. Like you should
because
always hire an attorney.
correct.
Always. Like that. People do view it as like, well, if you're innocent, you have nothing to hide, but you should always hire an attorney.
Well,
If
that's
you're
our pro tip.
hire an attorney. If you are guilty, hire an attorney.
That's our pro tip on the podcast today. Always hire an attorney because the thing is, you don't know enough about the law. That's not your specialty. That's
Yeah, and I'm not like just trying to generate work for myself, but like if police have their eyes on you, right or wrong, like if you did it or not did it, but like they have their eyes on you, they're going to try and trip you up. They're gonna try and trick you into an investigation. Like they are going to do what they can if they think you're guilty, even if they're acting within the bounds of the law. They're just going to use tricks that they know that they have been taught that you do not know how to defend against. So always hire an attorney. But to Roger's family, they were like, if you were innocent, you wouldn't need an attorney. You must have done that. So at that point, everybody in the neighborhood, everybody in the community, everybody thought it was Pam and Roger. There was only one person, one family friend who was like, that just doesn't feel right to me.
wow.
I don't think they could have done it.
Loyal. I like
Yeah,
it.
and she stands strong, like no matter what, right? She's like die hard in their innocence. So the
Well,
police,
the polygraph test failing is super, both of them failing is super.
it's indicative, right? Like because polygraphs, I mean, there is a reason they're not admissible in court, but I have worked with a lot of people who have taken polygraphs and looked at polygraph results. And I mean, there's usually a reason people fail. And usually it's because they were involved in some way, shape, or are lying about something that's a significant factor, right? Like that is usually why people fail. So the police after this, they did a search of Roger's home and they found marijuana, which was still illegal in any form in Utah at that time. It's now medically legal, but at the time it was illegal no matter what. They found drug paraphernalia. They found an AK-47, a 12-gauge shotgun, a 22 caliber revolver. And this wouldn't be like necessarily weird. You know, his dad was a big time gun aficionado. He was presumably raised that way, but Roger had been banned from owning firearms at this point, right? So all of those were illegally owned.
Right. Yeah. So he's broken the rules for his.
The law. He's broken the law
That's
again,
that's what they
right?
say. That's what the professionals say.
Were they under his name?
Yeah. So they were all owned by him.
Okay.
Wow, he didn't even like have his wife. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he has a
I'm
break.
wondering- Well, and what I'm wondering is if like he had bought them before and just not turned them over, because he wouldn't like a simple check would have not allowed him to buy any further ones, right? He'd be on the list like when they do the name scam thing. You know, when they run the background check.
Background check. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes.
Um,
More-
a gun store, but also like if you had just bought them like from a guy on KSL,
Mhm.
right? Which is the thing that happens in Utah.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it.
So June of 2010, so about 7, 8 months after the murder, a grand jury was impaneled, and the police in the state gave evidence of Pam and Roger's guilt. They thought that they did it, and a grand jury indicted them for the murder.
Okay.
And grand juries are super interesting. It's kind of like the concept of a jury trial, but it's different. There's no judge, there's just a grand jury, and the you can present way more evidence than what you'd ever be allowed to bring in at trial. And the people who are like Pam and Roger in this case aren't allowed to have attorneys with them. Like they
Really?
can force you to testify
Uh-huh.
without having an attorney.
All right. Who's on a grand jury? Is it just judges or is it like
No, it's just people.
Mhm.
So you can get called to serve on a grand jury if your state has a grand jury. Like so usually you're called for like a several month window of time.
Right?
And if a grand jury convenes in that window, you just get called up to go and sit on that grand jury.
Okay.
Grand juries, they are secret. So if you are on a grand jury, like usually with a jury, unless the case is super high profile, usually a juror's name will become public at some point, but a grand jury, it won't.
Mm.
Like it's an interesting concept because you can in Utah, you can indict somebody just by like a prosecutor filing an indictment, or you can indict them with a grand jury. It's the same way in Idaho. And grand juries aren't impaneled very often. It's kind of sometimes it's like if it's a big deal case, or if the prosecutor's like, hey, we think our evidence might be a little bit weak, but let's see if these people, you know, after presenting them everything we have, if they think we have enough to move forward, kind of
So
a
it's like
concept.
kind of like polling the people.
Kind of,
Okay.
kind of. But it is interesting because it isn't like you haven't been charged, so you don't have the right to an attorney.
Right.
Right. It's just you might be charged. And it is the attorney saying this is everything we have. Sometimes a lot of which won't be allowed to come in a trial, right? So anyway, they were indicted by a grand jury, and so the police arrested Roger and Pam. So at this point, what do you think, Roger and Pam?
I'm torn. I've asked like back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I think Roger is a little too obvious. Like, if you were going to pick one, you'd obviously pick Roger. Just because.
Oh, the history of violence and the money in the will and all of the illegal firearms and the drugs.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah, I also feel like it's interesting because he has the brain injury, right? So I wonder about his mental status in general. Is he easily manipulated? because obviously he has a big enough brain injury that he's on disability. And I
Mhm.
also am interested in this one family friend. Why does this one family friend um, total like have their back? Right? I feel like I need more information before I decide that.
So I want to show you a picture of, so this is Kay Mortensen at the time that he passed.
Oh,
But this is Roger and Pam.
okay. Yeah.
So his son Roger and his wife Pam.
Mm-hmm.
Like super just normal,
Yep.
Yeah.
run of the mill like
People.
people, right? So Roger and Pam, they have been arrested. They are sitting in jail. They have been in jail for 4.5 months. They are steadfastly pleading not guilty. They did not get a bond set low enough that they were able to make it. So there's in jail waiting for trial because they're like, nope, we are taking this to trial. We didn't do it. It was these two white, clean-cut men. So a woman named Rachel hears that Roger and Pam are in jail for Kay's murder and that like they're still in jail 4.5 months later. They haven't been let out. And she goes to the police and she says that her ex-husband, a man named Martin Bond, killed Kay with his friend Benjamin Reddig.
Wow.
So Martin Bond, it turns out the police are like, okay, well, we have to look into this, you know. He
Good.
is the son of one of Kay's best friends. And he knows that Kay has like a really big, substantial gun collection.
Mm-hmm.
So police follow up on this tip. They go and they grab Bond and they take him into interrogation. And he 100% just confesses. He confesses, he takes the police to where they buried the guns. They find 14 guns remaining, serial numbers scratched off. And he's like, yep, nope, I did it. Like I can't, like he just tells them the whole story. So then they go and
Easy.
they arrest Benjamin Reddig,
Uh-huh.
and he has Roger Mortensen's driver's license on him. Like he had taken it from Roger and Pam
Uh-huh.
when they were tied up, and he
Yeah.
had it. And so he holds out for a little bit longer, and he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But they're like, look, dude, Martin already told us literally everything. And so he also eventually confesses. He corroborates Pam's story that Pam and Roger had just stopped by the house. They tied them up after killing Kay Mortensen, and like just, but they felt kind of bad. They were in a weird headspace. They hadn't wanted to kill Kay. Everything had gone south, and so they just left. And
Okay.
everything Roger and Pam had been saying, like the entire time, was 100% true.
Way to go, family friend.
Yeah, yeah. I bet everybody else in the family felt real bad when
How
this
do you
came
eat
out.
that? How do you eat a slice of that humble pie, huh?
Like, how do you move forward with your family after that? When they're all like, yeah, you killed our dad.
We
We're
hate
cutting you out of the trust. You're
Mhm.
the worst.
I just don't understand why they had to kill Kay though.
Yeah, well, and we still don't know who
Slit
did,
his
because both, like Martin says Benjamin did it, Benjamin says Martin did it. And so we don't actually know who was to blame for the actual murder or the reason. I mean, they went to go steal guns. That was why they went to the home. The best guess, right, because they haven't talked about it, is that things just went south. You know, Kay was there, or he surprised them, or they surprised him, or and they were just like, we just gotta kill him.
That's not my
I
first thought,
guess is some
but
people's default reaction. It's not mine.
I know, right? Do you? How about you?
I mean,
I haven't really been in a situation,
Where you felt like,
but I haven't thought about that. So
I mean, it's also not like my standard Friday night to go and rob somebody. So
exactly, that's where I'm coming from.
well, you know, but there's two of them and one of him, and they really could just overpowered him and tied him up.
they tied up Roger and Pam. That was two people. That was
Right.
two people. And Kay was like a 67-year-old man.
Well, they had Kay there
He was
before
actually,
they had
he was
Kay there at
born.
the house. Before
Right.
Roger and Pam even showed up, they had the rope. So
Yeah.
born in 39, it's 2009. So he's 60.
70. He's a 70-year-old man, right?
Yep.
Like
And there's two
they
of them
couldn't
and one of him.
they couldn't have just tackled him and tied him up and taken the guns and be gone. And they can't be like, well, we were worried he would identify us. I mean, I guess maybe Kay might have known Martin and Roger might not have, because Martin's dad is Kay's best friend. But I'm like, really? Like that was how you had to
senseless.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely not what I would went with if I were to do something.
So, police are like, hey, mea culpa, you were telling the truth. Didn't kill your dad. How about you get out of jail? They actually did not say mea culpa because they would never say that they were at fault, which it would be, I mean, in this case, good for them because Roger and Pam were like suing you and suing you and suing you. So they filed a lawsuit against the county sheriff and the prosecutor, but it was dismissed, which I could have told you would happen because it's really, really, really hard to win. Like, assuming the police do their jobs, like, and by do their jobs, I mean they don't do anything illegal.
Like they actually do their jobs, not like they did their jobs in the 70s. Man, every case from the 70s is like they just don't do their
Like, and by do their job, I'm not even saying do their jobs well. I'm saying like even if they narrowed in on you as a suspect when they shouldn't have, but they just didn't break any laws. Like you can't, I mean, because testimony in front of a grand jury is protected. People who are testifying in the grand jury are immune from prosecution for anything they say on the stand. There's just no basis for their claim. Like whether it was right or wrong, whether they should have been arrested or not, there is just so much protection. Because otherwise, obviously, like, and I see it, a lot of people get mad about it. But if the police are like, well, we can't arrest this person because what if we happen to maybe might be wrong and then they sue us?
Right.
So there's a lot of protection against the state for like if you make now it's different, right? Like if you coerce a confession out of somebody, that's problematic. You can sue them for that.
Okay, so Bonnie,
Yeah.
how in the world could they, okay, do we have pictures of the actual criminals?
They look like young, clean-cut white men.
Nuh-uh.
Well, they've both got dark brown and black hair. They're in their early 20s. The best pictures I found of them were in like just prison jumpsuits, and I honestly couldn't tell you which one of the two it was because the picture was not helpful at all. I am guessing it was Martin Bond because he's the one that went to trial in this case. Benjamin pled guilty. He was sentenced to 25 years to life.
Boom.
Bond was like, nope, even though I have 100% confessed and I confessed right away, I am not pleading guilty.
Weird.
I don't know what on earth he was thinking, but he went to trial. He was found guilty really quickly, and he was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
Yeah, if he just would have pled guilty, I'm sure he would have gotten.
He would have gotten the same deal. He would have gotten 25 to life, right? Like, but I will show you who I am pretty sure is Martin Bond.
Well, and it makes me wonder about like, so Roger has a brain injury. He's married to Pam. We don't what do we know about her mental capacity? And maybe they really couldn't describe them any more than that.
Yeah, there isn't as much about
The tattoos.
Yeah.
How young he is, his hair color.
That's the thing. I feel like if nothing else, you could have been like, he's young.
Right.
Like he's a young man because he was like early 20s when this
Dark
occurred.
eyebrows.
Right. Like I feel like there was a lot you could have
Yeah.
The
you
chin.
could have said about
Maybe
Hairline,
right.
He's kind of has an odd hair.
Those things, the sideburns.
yeah, the sideburns, the curly hair, the pointed chin, the fact that he's young, the fact that he has really, really thick, intense looking eyebrows, like
He's thin.
there was options. How do I get this top thing to go away? Make it go away. There we go. Let's move it right there.
So okay then. So that makes me wonder about like what is her level of mental health? Because I don't know how to
Here we go. Here's one of them. Here's one of both of them. Here's one of both of them. I can't tell you who's who, but here's both of them.
Great. See, here, young, short hair, curly hair, dark hair.
Oh, this is actually the website I went to. That's so funny. That's his wife. That's Rachel. That's Rachel, the wife that came in and saved Pam and Roger. So there we go.
Way to go, Rachel.
I know. She was awesome. She's the real MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Roger's family, they kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But Rachel, she was like, you know what? I could just let this go, but there are 2 innocent people in prison and I know they shouldn't be there. So I'm going to go talk to the police about it. And I think this is Martin and that this is Benjamin.
Wait, which one? Like if we're looking at it.
Crazy hair is Martin.
Okay.
short hair is Benjamin, I think.
Okay. All right. I agree.
Like, I can see how you're defining them as clean cut white men, but like you could have given them more dark hair.
Yeah.
Curly hair.
I mean, I don't see it
Sideburns.
as clean cut. They kind of look sketch.
Well,
Well,
those are their mugshots. So let's be fair.
I'm
Nobody really looks good in a mugshot.
Not a great day for them. They're not looking their best.
Yeah.
Not their best look.
But don't you think that, like, so there was a son of one of Kay's friends.
Mm-hmm.
So Roger didn't know them, or he didn't know Roger.
And that is interesting to me. Like, because it said in multiple sources, right, that Martin Bond was the son of one of Kay's best friends. And Roger and Kay were super close. I'm sure that Roger had met the best friend, but like never met the son.
Right?
And again, like he has the brain injury, but he seems to be like fairly, he can't hold down a job, but like, I don't know, he was able to mount a legal defense. He was able to know that he should hire an attorney.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe he met them when they were younger, and
there is a big age difference between Roger and the Ben and Martin.
That is true. That is true. He is quite a bit older. So and even if maybe he'd seen him in passing, that doesn't mean that you're going to recognize him, especially if you're like tied up, right? Like these people are tying you up and you're like, what the heck is happening? Like,
yeah. Then you're thinking, am I going to live like that? Yeah.
And that might be the same thing where like they couldn't remember any details because they were just so scared.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, what is going on? We got out of this situation, that all they could remember is like they were white, they were male, they were clean cut. I feel like I could have remembered young, but maybe young is in the eye of the beholder. I don't know.
I agree. But also I was just thinking too, like if the situation had been reversed, I'd somehow been tied up, I would have been afraid to give a wrong detail and have somebody else pulled in off the street. So I might have said less just so I wouldn't accidentally pull someone else into it.
Yes.
I can see myself doing something like that.
Do you think that you would do that though? Or do you think you'd be like, dark hair, but I'm not sure? Like age range, but I'm not sure. Like
what we do?
Picture like your father has been murdered. Do you not want to help catch the people that did it?
Honestly, because of what we do, the minute I got tied up, I was like, if I live through this, let me try to remember freckles, hair color, eye color, sideburns, round chin, angled chins.
I was kept thinking of that scene from Taken where she's like shouting out all of the descriptive features, right? Like you just have them on a rotating playlist in your mind, like curly hair, pointed chin, mid-20s, like early to mid-20s, dark hair, like.
Yep. About this tall, sideburns down to the bottom of the earlobe, like just all those things, right?
Yeah. Just like have them on a loop. But also it's easy for us to say that because I'm sitting very comfortably and safe in my home.
Right.
Not tied up.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna type. So, what do you think? Tell me now. What did it look like?
Middle-aged white woman.
Wow. Tell me more.
Yeah.
She had to look at me. She doesn't like. Yeah.
Well, if you're tying me up, I can kind of look.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. Like, don't look at Juka right now. What color are Juka's eyes?
Blue, I think.
But you're not sure, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh.
How many hours have you spent with Juka, right? Like in her home, conversing with her, and you're like, I know your eye color is blue, don't I? I
questioned my own self. I knew it was blue. And then I started to question myself. So
and that's what people do, right? And that's somebody you know. And then there's somebody who's like kidnapping you and tying you up.
No, yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. And at this time, luckily, at that point, they didn't know Roger was dead. Or sorry, Roger didn't know Kay was dead at that point when they were being tied up.
No, he didn't find out until after they got free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, what kind of crappy knots were they tying?
Yeah, they just got free.
Mm-hmm.
There was also two of them. So I'm picturing in my head that they like backed up to each other and started like untying each other's knots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, how many times did we tie each other up and see if we could get out of it? Like when we were younger. No,
I don't have memories of that.
Oh, I think definitely like Charlie Ryan and I
could absolutely see the oldest three doing that. Mm-hmm. I could see Tom trying to do that to me and me being like, no, you don't get to tie me up.
Yeah.
Because you'll cut my hair.
Yeah. What? That maniac. I know
loves cutting my hair.
Lance and like would do that with like you. I'm not gonna tell that story. I will wait that. We'll put that on a mini episode. But I think that's
A follow-up episode.
or okay, no, I will tell this little snippet though. So we would, for funsies, like when my kids were growing up, we would tie them up and have them get each other out. Like that sounds really bad. I'm saying it, but everybody was laughing and it was just fun. And it was because dad tied these really great knots and everybody was like challenging. Can we get out of this knot? Right.
Well, I could 100% see Shane doing that with our kids as like a safety thing. Like, hey,
Right.
you're in this situation. How do you escape? How do you free yourself? Like, you find yourself here. Like, you're tied in this kind of a knot. What do you do?
Yep. That's exactly what we were doing. Like, okay, check it out. And then also my kids are really big into challenges. Like, well, can I do it? Right. And we'd always like kind of burn the competition out of them by having them compete and who can do the most push-ups, who's the fastest running across this room to that room, right? How many jumping jack, how long can you stand on one leg? And so it became one of those things where they were challenging each other, be like, I bet I can get out of that knot, so it was something like that.
Yeah.
She's like, that was not her life
Like,
experience.
this is not my childhood.
Well, my brother, I was scared of thunder. We have 11-year-old, like 11
Your age difference.
Yeah, that. So he was like a teenager and I was just like a wee little child. And he's like, you're not gonna be scared of thunder. So he like tied me to his chair and just sat me outside. And I got out. So I kind of just like, I was such a little kid, I could just kind of worm my way out. So I don't know. That's not
super
flexible.
Like rubber. Yeah, they can just be like, nope, I don't have hands really. I'll just get out of this real quick.
Yeah, that's not happening today.
No.
Anytime I've tried to hold my like almost 2-year-old as he is screaming and squealing and like wriggling out, because I'm like, look, this is your punishment. You just have to sit on my lap because you like hit somebody or you did whatever. Man, those things are like eels.
Yeah.
They're so kids are so slippery.
They are.
Yeah.
Even at the same time, they're sticky and slippery. How do they do that?
Magic.
Don't know. They're sticky with their hands, but their whole bodies are slippery.
I think they just slip into slippery power, right? They just go into slippery mode.
Slippery mode. I'm a fish.
Yeah, activate slippery mode.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What else is there that we need to know? Fun.
That's the story. That's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
All right. So these guys are in jail for a bit of time. Do you have any?
Yes. Well, Mortensen's in jail for life.
Yes.
And Benjamin is not eligible for parole until 2035.
Okay. That's kind of soon.
Yeah. Well, around the corner.
He served 15 years of his 25 until he's eligible for parole.
Yeah.
And we don't have any follow-up about how Roger and Pam are doing, or
they have largely shunned the spotlight. They were pretty irritated. They did do like an interview after their case got dismissed, talking about the injustice of it all, which I think is fair, right? They lost a lot of money hiring defense attorneys, of time of their life sitting in jail. Relationships with their family are now permanently altered.
Yeah.
I see why they're mad.
Just a smidge,
Did they ever have any kids, Roger and Pam?
Not that I ever found, no. I don't know what kind of brain injury he had, but I wonder if it precluded him from being able to have kids in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
I would probably stay out of the spotlight after all that. Like I might do a little bit while it happened, but after that, I'd try staying low.
And I think that that remaining members of the family are all a little bit guilty feeling about their hopping on the bandwagon of like, my brother did this. So they are also kind of like, no, we're not talking to people.
It's awkward now.
They did do, in the Dateline interview, he did get some family members to do Keith Morrison, amazing Keith Morrison. He got some family members to do interviews and stuff. And that was done much more recent to when it happened, but it still was like maybe 5 years ago. 10 years ago. I didn't actually look on a date for when the Dateline episode aired, but it's a good episode. You guys should watch it.
Okay.
We should.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that.
So, that's the story of Kay Mortensen.
It kind of spiraled, and then it kind of like,
It was like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
I brought you down, and then I brought you right back.
I like it.
like a roller coaster.
I'm glad it wasn't like a cold case because those kind of, I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, I do those to Juka every now and again, just to
Yeah.
make it so she really can't sleep at night.
Yep. Yep. Good times.
And it'll be good though. Juka's gonna do an episode here soon where she's gonna tell us the story. And so she'll get to pick whatever kind of case she wants, a survival story, a cold case, a solved case,
I don't know.
whatever floats her little boat.
Yeah.
you just gotta stay tuned.
And Bonnie has a really great way of telling the stories. And so mine's going to be completely different because I don't know how that's going to go.
I can't wait. I think it's also going to be really great in a completely different way because we're just different people.
But I still have to go back to senseless. Senseless.
Yeah. And that's like, even if you're going to commit the murder, or like not commit the murder, that was senseless, but even if you're going to steal the guns,
Right.
to try and sell them or whatever, or have them, backup plan, man. Like these people who are going in to commit robberies and it's like a robbery gone wrong, they need a backup plan. Like, hey, here's what we do if he turns out to be home.
Right? Who
We
didn't
can wear like a mask? We can attack him. We can you need a backup plan that does not involve murder.
Right?
And if you already are murdering, why don't you just kill the other people?
Yeah, just kill everybody.
Yeah,
go home. Not that I'm advocating murder. I'm not,
No.
but
there has to be some thought.
There's no
like,
thought.
Yeah.
why are you leaving the witnesses alive?
And you had no masks, and they possibly could have known you because you're
I feel like they were probably high. I'm just going to throw it out there. I have no evidence to corroborate that, but this feels to me like a situation where they were potentially not sober.
Yeah,
They're like, dude, guess I know this. My dad knows this guy. So many guns. It'd be so easy.
in and
He's
out.
old. He's just old. We can just go in and out. He won't even know we're there. He's probably deaf or something.
No masks.
Like, how hard
Well,
is
again, if you're not thinking very well, but here's my problem. This is why I'm like, I have a backup plan. Criminals, for the vast majority of criminals, they are not smart. Like they don't think crimes out well.
Yeah. Which is interesting because there's so many like podcasts, shows, movies. Like
So much research for them to do it better.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, though, I did try thinking about murder the other day, and I was like, okay, here's my mode. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. Now, how do I make it look natural, right? And I was really hard. My brain finally gave up.
I mean, I will tell you, it was much easier to commit murder 100 years ago,
Yeah.
and like get away with it than it is today.
Yeah.
Like, and you have people that try really hard. Like, I mean, he hasn't been convicted yet, but in the Idaho murders, those Idaho co-ed murders with Brian Koberger,
Yeah.
he is allegedly the murderer. But if he does get convicted in the summer when his trial goes, then he tried real hard, right? Like he planned out everything. He left his phone at home. He did all of these things that you're supposed to do, and the police still found him.
Yes. Well, you know what? I couldn't believe that they had Roger's license in their pocket.
Yeah.
Who still has that? Who
Like, and it's not even like the people that are serial killers that keep mementos. Like,
no, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Like, if he somehow ended up with this thing, why wasn't he like throwing it in a trash can across town?
He could have just
Thrown it away.
Trash.
Throwing it
Like,
out of his car.
It was such a long time since
Between.
it's like 5 months.
Mhm.
And
more than that, it was almost a year because they had been in prison for 4.5 months.
so yeah, a year. You could have thrown that away in your normal.
Yeah, and I had wondered if like the driver's license, the fact that he had it was one of the reasons that he pled guilty and Martin didn't. But then Martin was the one that took him to the gun stash.
Yeah, right.
Like they both had corroborating evidence in addition to their testimonies. So interesting to me that he chose to plead not guilty and take it to trial.
Are these like, so remind me the name, I didn't write her down, of the wife who went in.
Rachel.
I was gonna say Rachel, but I didn't want to get it wrong. Thank you so much, Candy.
Mhm.
And then so Rachel was like, hey, this is not cool. I'm going in, and she spilled the tea, and it was awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Is she still married?
She was already his ex-wife.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wait.
Before she went in to talk to the police.
For some reason, I thought she was still married to him at that time.
So how did she know? How did she like find out?
I am assuming that either he talked to her about it or she saw evidence of it.
Okay.
It's also very hard to keep things from your spouse.
Yeah.
Did they get divorced during
It's
the
also human nature to talk.
Yes. But you know who would never talk? Shane. Shane would never talk.
Shane would, yeah, if he committed a murder, I would never know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, unless he thought it was like a justifiable murder, then he would just tell me and we'd work it out together.
Mhm.
But also, he and I, right? I would never tell on him because snitches get stitches, and he's my husband. With a very few exceptions, and I've already told him about those. And he has marital privilege, right? So they could never make me testify against him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man,
Well,
he's a
that's
vault.
nice.
That guy's a vault, though.
I also think that Lance would not tell.
No,
No.
he would not.
What kind of men have we married, and what does it say about us?
Well, they are strong, self-assured, pretty handsome. They're pretty cute. And
True.
they would never do anything like to hurt anybody unless that somebody was going to hurt their family first.
Yeah, very family oriented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 100% they would deflect said damage and bury it in the woods.
Yep. They'd be like, we don't need to go through the whole rigmarole. It's
Yep.
fine. He was going to shoot my family. He's gone for forever now.
And no one needs to know.
Lance would do like something really like crazy, like tactical, I feel.
Yeah.
It kind of freaked me out, I think. He would like go on a tree and like
be the same color as the tree.
Yeah.
He'd become one with
He
the
would
tree.
become the tree. Become one with the tree.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah,
Well,
that is the story.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Cadence.
Thank you for having me. And
Yeah, thank you for coming.
I enjoyed this a lot.
Well, maybe you can have a recurring role.
Ooh, maybe you can help us find us some cases to talk about.
Well, I want to talk about Lizzie Borden.
Oh, okay. Cadence is going to be one of our guest storytellers.
Because
Lizzie Borden is a fascinating situation. Her defense was awesome. She was never convicted.
Fascinating.
No, yeah. Just
Yeah,
crazy
Lizzie-
murder in Boston.
I know.
Lizzie Borden, allegedly, she was never convicted.
She was never
Allegedly.
convicted.
Yeah.
Let's be legally correct here.
I did spend a night at her house.
Ooh, don't give us all the good details.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
save
the creepiness for the story.
That's the sneak peek. That's all you get for someday in the future. Well, until next time, keep your tea hot.
And your curiosity hotter. Bye, everyone.